In the heart of the ancient Yoruba kingdom of Ife, where the air hummed with the power of the divine, there lived a drummer named Adebayo. His hands were known to weave magic through the beats of his drum, invoking rainstorms, calming the winds, and even summoning the spirits of ancestors. His drum was not an ordinary instrument, it was said to be blessed by Olodumare, the supreme creator, and passed down through generations. The kingdom was blessed by the moon, revered as the light that guided the people, bringing harvest, fertility, and balance. On the night of the harvest festival, the sky grew unevenly dark. The stars glittered faintly, but the moon, the sacred protector of Ife, remained hidden. The people gathered in the village square, whispers of worry spreading among them. The elders were summoned, their faces etched with concern. The moon is missing, the high priest Olumide muttered, casting anxious glances at the restless crowd. The divine light has abandoned us. Adebayo, standing at the edges of the crowd, watched in disbelief as the elders convened. He knew the legends, the ancient drummers who had summoned the moon with their rhythms, but no one had ever dared attempt it. The task was too sacred, too perilous. None had returned after calling the moon. Yet, the elders turned to him, their eyes filled with hope. Adebayo, Olumide said, his voice steady but urgent. You must call the moon. Only your hands can summon it back. Adebayo's heart raced. His drum had been blessed, but calling the moon was a feat beyond even his powerful rhythms. But as the people looked to him, a quiet resolve settled in his chest. He had been chosen. With no time to waste, Adebayo walked to the center of the square, the villagers parting to make way for him. He knelt and placed his drum before him, its surface glistening in the dim light. He could feel its power pulsing beneath his fingers. He took a deep breath, his body steadying as the night grew colder. The silence was deafening. The only sound was the distant murmur of the anxious crowd and the occasional rustle of the trees. Adebayo closed his eyes and struck the first beat, a solitary thrum that vibrated through his soul. It was deep, primal, resonating with the earth beneath him. His hands moved with fluid grace, the rhythms building like a rising storm. His drumming echoed through the village, each beat stronger than the last. The sound was not just heard, it was felt. It reached into the sky, curling around the clouds, and the very wind seemed to pause, waiting. As he played, a strange sensation filled him. He could almost feel the presence of the moon, its cool gaze watching him from afar. The first change came with a gust of wind. It swept through the square, sending the torches flickering wildly. Then came the thunderous roar of the earth, an ominous rumble that spread through the ground. The villagers gasped, stepping back as the air became charged with a strange energy. Adebayo's heartbeat quickened, but his hands never faltered. He was no longer simply drumming. He was speaking to the sky, to the divine, calling forth the moon. Then, a soft glow appeared at the edge of the horizon, faint at first, like the first spark of a flame. The crowd held its breath as the light grew, slowly at first, then more rapidly. It was the moon, but it was unlike any they had ever seen. It was not the familiar soft silver. This moon was blood red, a fiery orb suspended in the sky, glowing with an eerie intensity. Adebayo's drumbeat slowed as the moon hung in the sky, casting a strange, crimson light over the land. The village was silent now, every eye fixed on the celestial visitor. The wind howled once more, and the earth trembled beneath their feet. Suddenly, a voice, low, ancient, and filled with power, whispered in Adebayo's ear. Why do you call me mortal? What makes you believe you can command the divine? Adebayo froze. He had heard the stories, drummers who had disappeared after trying to summon the moon. The gods were merciless to those who overstepped their bounds. But his heart remained resolute, and with steady breath, he responded, his voice carrying across the square. I do not command you, he said, but I call you. You are the guardian of this land, the light that guides us. The harvest is incomplete without you. The people need you. For a moment, everything stilled. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Then, the moon began to descend slowly, its red glow softening into the familiar silvery light. The people gasped in awe, watching as the moon returned to its rightful place in the heavens. But something was different. Adebayo felt it. The moon was not as it had been. The air was heavier, charged with an energy that sent chills down his spine. His hands continued to play, though now the rhythm was uncertain, unsure of itself. As the moon settled in the sky, a cold breeze swept through the village. The voice whispered again, but this time, Adebayo understood. "You have called me, mortal. But beware, there are consequences to invoking the divine. Your world will never be the same." The moon, now full and glowing bright, illuminated the land. The people rejoiced, but Adebayo remained silent. He knew that the moon had not simply returned by his command. It had been summoned. But at what cost? From that night forward, Adebayo's drumming changed. The rhythms that once brought peace now held a dangerous undercurrent, as though the moon itself had left an imprint on his soul. The villagers celebrated, but Adebayo, ever watchful, knew that the moon's return was not a simple victory. It was a warning, a reminder of the power he had awakened. And as the years passed, the moon's crimson glow would sometimes return on nights when the wind howled a little too loudly, when the earth trembled just beneath the feet. It was as if the moon was watching, waiting for Adebayo to play once more, at the cost of something much greater than the kingdom of Ife had ever imagined.